What's up, YouTube? Poor Man Podcast back with another video. Today's video is going to be transgender weightlifter allowed to compete in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And for those who don't know, I have represented the USA on the international stage in multiple occasions for the USA national rugby team. Okay, and I have competed at the Pan American Games in 2019 in preparation for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Unfortunately, I had a back injury that took me out of that race. I may be returning in 2024, but I do have the experience of a international athlete. I've represented us multiple occasions on the international stage. So I would assume you guys know my take on this, but I'm gonna give it anyway. I'll let the clip play for a little bit. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, so I might go on a little rant. But let's let the clip play and we'll see where it goes.
The New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard is set to become the first transgender athlete to compete at the Olympics. The country's Olympic Committee has named her as part of the women's team for the Tokyo Games. I asked our correspondent Phil Mercer about the background to this decision.
Sport is all about pushing boundaries, and that's certainly what Laurel Hubbard will be doing at the Tokyo Olympics. She will be the first transgender athlete to compete at the Games. She has satisfied domestic and international criteria. She was competing in men's events until she transitioned in 2012, and she's had a pretty decorated career for New Zealand. Back in 2017, she won a silver medal at the World Championships. She thought her career was over at the Commonwealth Games a year later in 2018 when she broke her arm, but she's back to full fitness and back in the squad. And New Zealand Olympic officials are very cognizant of the fact that gender identity, in their words, is a very sensitive and complex issue in sport.
I don't care if you identify as a pizza, okay? If you get in the oven, you're gonna get burnt, okay? You can identify as whatever. The unfortunate thing about this situation in particular, and I understand it, okay, because I've had Olympic dreams. I know what it feels like to work hard for something that only comes every 4 years and be denied that opportunity by something you cannot control. And for the girl that got fourth, okay, because you take top three. For the girl that got fourth, I truly apologize. For the woman that got fourth, I truly apologize that society has failed you. And when I say this, I mean the common people. This is common knowledge, okay? If you lived your life for 35 years or 25 years, I believe Laurel or whatever, she's lived her life for 25 years. Laurel, whatever it is. She's lived her life for 25 years as a man. You grow a certain amount of development. Okay, your bones are harder. Male bones are harder. They're denser. Okay, our hips are more narrow. So that allows us to kick harder. That allows us to run faster. One of the reasons why female athletes tend to have knee problems, especially soccer players and other athletes that have to cut side to side, is because their hips are wider, and that means their knees will come in more. And that means that they're more susceptible to knee injuries. There are just differences between men and women. Okay, we understand this. Regular common people understand this, but what has happened is there's been such a stigma about talking about these things, about having general conversations about these things, to the point where normal people don't want to have the conversation because they're afraid of the result. Okay, normal people are afraid of the results, so they cower. They don't want to have this conversation in public, so they cower. If you ask the general population who's stronger, a male or a female, they'll say the male. Okay, and if you've lived your life for 25 years as a male, you're just going to have certain structural advantages. Okay, you're just going to have certain advantages. And this is how things gradually happen. Okay, so a while ago it was like, is it okay to be transgender? Okay, everybody was like, okay, do whatever you want to do. Go ahead, do it. And I think most people were okay with that because it doesn't affect us. But the thing that we act like doesn't happen is there's a domino effect. Now you're starting to give them an inch and they take a mile. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being transgender. Okay, there's nothing wrong. If you want to go out and do whatever you want to do, go do what you want to do. I'm all for freedom. Do what you want to do. But we're not going to ignore basic biology. A child can figure this stuff out. If you ask a child who's stronger, mommy or daddy, they're going to say daddy. because they understand the basics of human nature. They understand the basics of biology. Okay, this is not rocket science. But the problem is there's been, like I said, such a stigma that normal people don't want to speak up about this. This is ridiculous. This idea that men and women are the same. It is ridiculous. I've seen last year, I mean, he's worked all his life for it, was denied the opportunity to do so because we're trying to virtue signal and act like men and women are the same. It's just not true. And it's dangerous. Okay, this is a very dangerous idea. Now I'm having conversations with women that actually genuinely believe that they can beat men in a fist fight. The average woman stands no fucking chance against the average man in a fist fight. Okay? If men were to be violent towards women, there would be nothing they could do about it. Let's just be completely honest about this. Okay? So, and it's dangerous because I see it happen in public. I see women being violent with men as though this 6'5" mammoth of a human being couldn't flip you on your head and end your night. Okay? Like, and we have to just nod our heads as though this is okay, as though this is just normal. Again, if you want to be transgender, if you want to be a guy, I don't care if you want to be a turtle. You can identify as a tomato. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But once you start affecting other people's lives and results, that's when you would expect society to step in and say, okay, maybe let's be a little reasonable here. Okay? For the Lil Nas X thing that happened very recently. We aren't allowed to say that that's wrong because now you're homophobic. If I say that maybe you shouldn't promote your music to children and then make a song sliding down a pole and grinding on Satan's penis in a Christian society, which is what America is still a Christian country regardless of what you believe. It's still a predominantly Christian country, and expect no backlash, because if anybody says anything against it, they're homophobic. At what point do you have a line between I'm okay with you being gay and homophobic? You know what I mean? Like, at what point is there, where's the middle ground between I'm okay with my kids watching a man slide down a pole onto Satan's lap and giving him a lap dance, and I'm homophobic? I'm homophobic. There's a lot of middle ground in between there. Okay? And one of those positions is, I don't care, do whatever you want to do, but once you start affecting other people's lives negatively, it becomes it becomes questionable. We need to have a conversation now. The general public they're being cowards, and it's sad to see this because it's starting to affect other people's lives, and it's going to continue to affect especially women. Which, from a party, this is typically a Democratic position, from a party that represents feminine and usually have feminist ideas towards things, you would assume that they would get it. That this is a direct attack against women's rights and women being able to compete. Okay? Like, when you have the USA national team getting wiped out by a group of 7th grade boys, getting beat 6-1 by a group of 7-year-old or 7th grade boys, you understand that there's a difference. When you only have 15 dunks in the WNBA history, in the entirety of the WNBA, 15 dunks, and you see 7th grade boys dunking, there's a difference between men and women. It's not rocket science. We got to cut the nonsense, man. Let's continue the video, though. Let's go ahead and get this one through.
That requires a balance between human rights and the need for fairness in the field of play. There will be those who disapprove of her selection, but as far as the athlete herself is concerned, she said in a statement that she was humbled and that she was grateful.
Yes, I mean, it has caused a little bit of controversy, hasn't it?
Certainly has. Sport is about drama, and certainly the inclusion of Laurel Hubbard in New Zealand's Olympic squad will add an extra layer of intrigue. Now, for quite a long time now, there's been a heated debate in sporting and scientific circles about an apparent unfairness or an apparent advantage gained by transgender athletes competing against other women. And safe to say this controversy will almost certainly continue. There have been rumblings of discontent among at least one of her weightlifting rivals in the past. And you'd have to say, due to the sensitive and delicate nature of this particular issue, it will continue. But as far as New Zealand is concerned, it's a very proud sporting country, a country of about 5 million people. And safe to say, you'd have to say that the majority of New Zealanders will be backing their team, including Laurel Hubbard, come the Olympics in Tokyo.
And okay, here's the last thing. I'm gonna wrap this video up. Just my final thoughts on the video. But this is how you use oppression as power. Okay, this is how you use being a marginalized group to gain power. You attack freedom of speech. Okay, and if y'all haven't noticed, there has been a direct attack on that, because supposedly we can't have conversations unless if it offends someone, and conveniently enough, for a lot of people who are offended, they're offended by conversations that are the most important conversations to be had. All right, so what do I mean by this? And just an example of this, and I said this in a live stream just recently, but the original word was a moron or an idiot, I believe was the original word you would call a person that was mentally ill. Then people called their friends that when they did something stupid, so they changed the word to moron, said you can't say idiot anymore. That's insulting, even though that's the scientific term. Okay, so now the word is moron. All right, and when people's friends did stupid stuff, they called them a moron. Then they switched the word to retarded. And of course, this video is probably demonetized just because I said that word. But that was the scientific word for a mentally ill person, or a person that wasn't all the way there. That was the scientific term for that. All right, so you can see gradually how the speech is being pushed in a way that you can't have the conversations. Now I don't even know if I'm allowed to say. Are you allowed to say gay anymore, or are you homophobic if you say the word gay now? Like it gets to the point where we're not allowed to talk about certain things, because if you even bring it up, you're a transphobe. All right. That's how you gradually but surely take freedom of speech. And the beautiful thing about freedom of speech in America is it prevents dogma. Okay, the ideas that translate with no scientific back, it prevents dogma. So if somebody comes up with a ridiculous idea, the beautiful part about freedom of speech is it allows the people with common sense to go against that idea openly and show how ridiculous that idea is. All right. When you don't have freedom of speech, dogma is able to grow. Ideas that make no sense are able to grow because you can't talk about them and talk about how ridiculous they are. That's my final thoughts on the video. Till next time.